Start, Gopi.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Ellarku Namaskara. I'm Gopi K, your host for today. On behalf of VHS Karnataka, very warm welcome to all the wonderful viewers for the 48th edition of Online Samvada, brought to you by VHS Karnataka. We had 47 amazing episodes of Samvada from VHS Karnataka until now, including last session on what Dr. Ambedkar ji wrote on partition and clean transfer of population by Dr. S.R. Leela ji. What a detailed, well-researched session was that. Her translation of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's book into Kannada will be released in a couple of months down the line. Akhanda Bharata is a continuous civilization where its culture, values, traditions rooted to Sanatana Dharma, and the knowledge is preserved in the form of oral traditions, scriptures in Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, Darshanas, Shastras, and thousands of scriptures in Bharatiya Itihasa. Vast number of universities were there across Bharata Khanda, with lakhs of associated gurukulas in each and every village, with community devasthanam associated with them. Top universities like Takshila, Nalanda, and 2 dozen more were thriving with students under the guidance of gurus and acharyas. 64 domain subjects were taught in these universities, including science, maths, astronomy, astrology, cosmology, metallurgy, arts, architecture, and goes on until 64. Invaders entered Bharat and destroyed universities, looted the books, burnt rest of the books, in fact, burned all the gurus, acharyas, and so that the knowledge system ends there itself. On top of that, colonizers came and destroyed even the gurukulas which has existed here and there, which was spread across Bharatakhanda. All of them are destroyed. After destroying all the universities and gurukulas, the invaders and colonizers took charge of writing Bharat's history from their prism point of view and started to call original Bharatiya's Itihasa as myth. To continue that, that continued even after 70 years of transfer of power. To debunk the myth called mythology or Indian mythology, they call it as, with proper references and facts, we have a special guest speaker, Shri Aditya Satsangi ji, a TEDx speaker, an author, and an innovator of Satyology. Aditya ji is a tech entrepreneur, an author of 11 books on ancient Bharatiya Itihasa, or also called as ancient Indian history. Host of YouTube channel called Satyology. And we are also joined by today Sri Nikunsha ji, VHS Karnataka State President, and Tejas. I think he is not feeling good still yet. I wish him all the best to recover faster and sooner. Without any further ado, now I request Sri Aditya Satsangi ji to enlighten all of us on debunking the mythology. Also, please enlighten us what is Satyology. Please, Aditya ji, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for all the hosts as well as VHS Karnataka for inviting me. And we all love Dr. Swami. And we stay away from politics of the land. And we just, appreciate everyone who has contributed to Sanatan Dharma. Before I start off, the five principles of VHS you already read. So without paying respect to a guru, we cannot begin our conversation. So very interesting word, mythology. See, the thing is, if you want to understand any language, including Sanskrit, in Sanskrit we call it Sandhi and Vichhed. So you have to Vichhed every word of Sanskrit into Dhatu. And then you understand the root of that Sanskrit word. and then you can understand what is the purpose of that word. Like for example, the dhatu called yuj is used in yoga, yudh, yukta. Like yuj dhatu means connecting dhatu. So the same word is used in yuga also, because yugas are connecting cyclical time. So to understand Sanskrit, you have to go to the dhatu of that word. Then you understand how it has been combined with other words. Like for example, uchyate, yeah, uchya iti, yeah, iti uchyate, iti uchyate. So it means iti means this, thus, and uchyate means spoken. And but the dhatu is uch. So the word comes as uvacha. So like this, you understand Sanskrit language. Similar etymological rules are there in the English language. So English language is derived from Latin, and Latin has come from Sanskrit. It has been well recognized by multiple historians all over the world. So in order to create an English word, a new English word, now English words are created based on roots. Like for example, logos is a Greco-Latin root, and maybe some other cultures have also used as logos. But in Sanskrit it's called loka. Loka means the world which you have which you can see from the eyes. Or another Sanskrit word is bhoot, which you see everything. Like when Krishna says mama bhuta maheshwaram, so that means I am the Lord Maheshwar. Maheshwar again is a word from two Sanskrit dhatus. Maha Ishwar. Mama bhuta maheshwaram means I am the Ishwar of everything that you see. Sarvaloka Maheshwara. So similarly, English also uses root words. Now the conspiracy behind the word mythology is, now it is using part Sanskrit and part Latin. So mythology word is using myth, I'm talking about Devanagari myth, which is ma, chota ki matra, and tha, and halant and the tha, myth. So myth is a root word for mithya. Mithya is a word, myth is a dhatu. So like I said, the etymological rules are built on dhatu, not on the words. You don't create a word over word. You take a root and then you create a word, because there can be vocative transformations. Like for example, like Hari. But if you call Hari with love, it's called Hare. Like you're doing Sambodhan now. You're calling out. So similarly, this is when we say mythology. Now, mythology is a combination of myth, Sanskrit dhatu, plus logos, which is Latin. Because, see, the thing is, if you want to colonize someone, you change their language. And there is a book I've written, I don't know whether I have kept it here or not. There's a book is called The Gold, Glory and God. It has the history called, it's a papal bull. Gold, Glory and God was a papal bull released in 1493. And it was the basis of colonization of South America, as well as Africa, and as well as India. All three were sanctioned by the papal bull, which is usually released by the Vatican. Now, the word mythology, I think in public usage came in around early 19th century or mid 19th century. It's a not very old word, because the when the I'll go back to the word again. So mythology, now myth in the Sanskrit word, which is a root for fake, lie, or imagination, and logos, a Latin word for, or Latin Greco-Latin word. There are many people who may complain about that, but Greco-Latin word, which can be used for a study or science like biology or physiology, or any logy uses the word logos. Now you can check it out on Google. Wikipedia is a bad source. You have to look it into actually academic books. So the word mythology, now it becomes, like if you combine them, a science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. Now you combine the two. Now there was no opposite word to that in English language, because the English language is derived language from all over the world. It's not the language of England. Scottish have a different version, Welsh has a different version, Irish has a different version, everyone has a different version. So in English language, there is no true antonym of mythology. And so I have to also search for a root word which is opposite of myth. And that is only one word comes to the mind is Sat. Sat, the word comes truth, Satya comes, and when various other words are Satyam Eva Jayate. Again, I said three words combined. Satyam Eva Jayate, Satyam Eva. Satyam Eva means Satya only. Sat Eva, Eva means only. Satyam Eva Jayate. Like many words come out. So then I also use the same etymological way the word mythology was coined to make it a true antonym. But to emphasize on Sat, I had to add additional Ta, Satyology, because otherwise I won't emphasize on the truth. So from grammatical purposes, I've checked with many grammarians, and everyone came and they joined me in that. So Satyology is the word which means science or study of truth. It's a true antonym of mythology, which means a science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. Now, the one thing is we are seeing, India is witnessing, this word mythology was coined especially against the Vedic civilization. It was not coined for any other civilization but Vedic civilization, because all the colonizers, the Dutch were defeated in a direct naval fight with Marthandavarma in 1741. That's why at that time the word mythology was not there. And most of the people were not aware that the South Indian kings, I mean South Peninsula. I am also born in Sholapur, so I am also technically a South Indian. But the 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 people in the southern peninsula of India, the kings, they gave a straight military fight to the European invaders, whether it's coming from Philippines, whether it's coming from, because Philippines was already converted into Christianity by 1521 to 1621, they completely wiped out. It was a Hindu country, but completely wiped out, and I've given proofs of that in this book, that how it was a Hindu country. Even today, their ancient Tagalog language was the most commonly spoken language there. Was written in Brahmi script, had Sanskrit script over there, and many of the Cholas and Pallavas ruled over there, and many of the other South Indian kings. There is Mahabharata mention of Malaya kingdoms being Bhim had invaded them through his son Gharotkach. That is also mentioned over there. So the word mythology was coined against the Vedic culture, Vedic civilization, because the Europeans were not able to defeat militarily. So they had to devise a different part, which was trade, because India controlled the world global trade. And trade is sometimes the best way to enter a civilization. Like, for example, you all know the history more better than me, that how the British East India Company actually entered India through alliances. But what it replaced, this we have not discussed enough. And some of you may know it very well because all of you are highly educated people. So the Dutch East India Company was a precursor. So during the time of Jahangir, which is Jahangir Alam rule in India, there have been many Jahangir Alams, and 1, 2, 3, 4, Shah Alam 1, 2, 3, 4. There'll be Bahadur Shah Jafar were 1, 2, 3, 4. Like many of them were there. During the last reign of the last Jahangir, at that time they used to bribe. They entered through the port of Calcutta, because Calcutta was the hub of the trade through the east. So India always became prosperous with the trade with the east, because west was a country of barbarians, like the uncivilized people, and there was no honesty in them. So trading was always flourished in India by the east. And unfortunately, India ignored the east for long, until this government came to power, and they are focusing on the east, because India's prosperity came from there. In fact, the entire European prosperity came from India and the Far East, Cambodia, Vietnam. These are the areas where, because Indonesia was a place where the gold was mined. So Satyology means science of truth, study of truth, like going into the facts, going into the history. Believe me, when I tell people I'm a business owner, I'm still a business owner of a couple of companies, and I can tell you, innovation comes from the past, not from the future, because innovation means change and improvement, generally improvement and better. But if you don't have a basis, how can you improve? So innovation comes from the past. India is today under a civilizational change now. Hopefully, we'll, by Jagannath's mercy, will be a Hindu Rashtra soon. But the point is, the civilizational change, we forgot Ramayana. we forgot Mahabharata, because we cannot build a new world on the basis of last 70 years of history, because Bharat is a very old country. So when I was studying the current history, the past history, and I wrote 11 books, out of which 4 are on Mahabharata. And one of the books Dr. Swami really loved very much, which was Narada, the Making of a Statesman. And he reads everything. So he quoted, he tweeted actually. He said, worth reading. He said it. And I was very honored actually. And I never asked him. I didn't ask him to please retweet. I didn't do that. I didn't even ask anything from him. I just said, this is my, I just gave him the book. And he, on his own, he said, worth reading. So it means a lot, because he's a very, much more well-read than most of us here. And then I was starting to go back into the Mahabharata facts. And I was literally surprised when I went through Mahabharata many times, but in Mahabharata, it's like an ocean. Every time I have read it a couple of times fully, but still you forget, it's so big. And the Mahabharata is written by Ganesh, so everything is accurately mentioned there. And the spoken by Vyasdev, and it is called Pancham Veda by Vaishampayan, because the Mahabharata has the history of the entire kingdom of the entire world, and many important informations are there. And then I read the Valmiki Ramayana, lot of information, like pretty accurate. Now, one thing which struck me, and through which I'm going to focus today, there's a lot more I can speak, because I've written the Pandavas. This book came out recently, and I gifted it to Dr. Swami also, the famous 5. Exclusively the stories of Pandavas, which are not told in the public generally, because the mythology is the mythology which is spread out, that the Vedic culture is just 2000 years old, 3000 years old, 4000 years old, 5000. Even some of the best scholars, they say that Vedas were written some 1500 BC or 1600 BC. No, totally wrong. And that information is proved through the pages of Mahabharata Ramayana also. That Mahabharata was written 3 years after the Mahabharata war ended. And Ramayana was written was completed when Bhagwan Ram came back to Ayodhya. That time Valmiki completed it, and Love and Kush sang in front of them. So these are very old literatures, but they are not as old as compared to the Veda. And some people say the Veda has an age, was written here and there. All mythological campaigns. See, the biggest problem that we had, living in the USA for so many years, I have not quoted a single American author, nor a British author, because I don't want to give them a credit about my history. They have to learn from me. Unfortunately, majority of the history of Mahabharata and Ramayana is told by the foreigners to India. And again, that's a skin disease, because that's how the British banned Mahabharata, and they wanted to tell Mahabharata in their way, so that the Hindus never rise up through weapons, or don't learn from Mahabharata and take over their kingdom. But in the Mahabharata time, I proved it with maps in this book, that the entire Jambu Dweep means Asia, was the territory of Yudhisthira Maharaj, controlled from Hastinapur. The northern boundary of the protection of Hastinapur started at Kyrgyzstan, today's Kyrgyzstan, because that's where Sardyaj Nadi is there, Sardyaj River is there. Sardyaj Nadi is the Shadova Nadi mentioned in Mahabharata. And why I'm so accurately, I'm saying so confidently, because Sardyaj Nadi is on the west of Meru Parvat. Meru Parvat is known as Khan Tegri. Now, Khan Tegri today, Meru Parvat, now definition of Meru Parvat has not changed between Ramayana and Mahabharata. In Ramayana, it's called Shaloba Nadi. In Mahabharata, it's called Shadova Nadi. Both the places, the reference names are the same, practically the same. And they both are on the west of Meru Parvat, which is Khan Tegri today within Mongolia. Now, the thing is, Vyasdev says, unless someone has connection with the land, they do not develop respect to the land and to the culture. See, the whole mythological propaganda against India has been, and which you have seen the very foolish Prime Minister of India, the first one, Nehru, he said, India Bharat ek khoj. That person I called him all these names, and I call him openly also, and I've written articles also like that. So I don't shy over there. People can quote me over there also. So the he said Bharat e khoj. The person who did not understand the word Bharat, and he's saying Bharat e khoj. Again, he's looking from the lens of uh, Europeans. See, Europeans the discovery period of the European Renaissance is 16th century. 16th century was the decline of the Vedic civilization, because a lot of attacks happened from 10th, 11th century onwards into Bharat. Bharat extended, the official boundary of Bharat covered even Parsik lands. Parsik means the place where you find Paras money. And Parsik is the name of today, which the Greeks used, Greeks used to say, Greeks used to refer to today's Persia also as Indoi, India. The word Indoi came from Indu and then India. So it's a Greek name, actually, because that's how they used to refer to India, from the Hindu Mahasagar. Now, the uh, actually Sindhu Mahasagar became Hindu Mahasagar, but the original word Mahabharata Ramayana used Sindhu Mahasagar. Sindhu Mahasagar is the land ocean where the Sindhu Nadi meets the ocean. That is called Sindhu Mahasagar. Now, all this information is first hand, because this is from my own research. I don't read any other author practically, because it pollutes your mind. And so I read Vyasdev and Valmiki to gain original information, not other information. And also you to triage everything, because see, whatever Krishna told in Bhagavad Gita has been told by all Vishnu avatar throughout, including Bhagavad Gita. Krishna himself says in the 4th chapter that earlier I told this to Vivaswan, Imam Vivasre Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam, that I am unchangeable, this knowledge is unchangeable, and I spoke to the Vivaswan, the Surya Bhagwan first. And the traditions came from Surya through Yajnavalkya, and again came through Surya Siddhanta also, and also through other traditions, other bodies of knowledge. So you have to triage information to get the full information. It's like a science project. All of us, many of you must be engineers, so you must be aware that and understand one thing, in our culture, logic and reasoning is appreciated. So Krishna tells Uddhava that you can understand me through logic and reasoning. Evam buddhe param buddhva samsabhya yed Bhagavad Gita, on the 3rd chapter. So evam buddhe, intelligence is respected. But amongst Europeans, intelligence is not respected. Like Galileo, Socrates, Plato, everyone was condemned by their churches, because it's a dogmatic society. It's not appreciated. Only in the Vedic culture, free thought, free questioning is appreciated. No Abrahamic culture, including Islam, including Christianity, including Judaism, don't support independent logical analysis. Therefore, in those cultures, science is taught as a separate subject. But in Sanatan Dharma, in Vedic culture, science and the culture is one. Like offering arghya to Surya Dev is science, because your eyesight improves also. But that's not the main benefit for which we do arghya. We do arghya to Surya to respect him, to honor him. This. So the culture has a very deep meaning. So I'll come back to the topic, because I said there's so much content, we cannot digress here. So the mountains, according to Vyasdev, I said, so I'm taking cues from everyone. I'm taking cues that how to actually explain. So the geography mentioned in Ramayana is exactly like the geography mentioned in Mahabharata. Exactly the same. Girivraj is in the same place. Meru Parvat is in the same place. Udaygiri is in the same place. Astachal is in the same place. Astachal is the Alps mountains, north of Varunalaya. Varunalaya is Mediterranean Ocean. And that is north. That is where the sun sets. And that is also corroborated in the sun's movement mentioned around the Meru Parvat. That is also corroborated there. So now the geographical locations are the same. Like we call it Java right now, Java, Sumatra. The exact names are in Yava. Actually, the Sanskrit word is Yava, Yavadvipa. Simala Dvipa, Yavadvipa, Simala Dvipa, Lanka Dvipa. Like there are 7 islands south of Jambu Dvip. Whenever they mention Jambu Dvip, which is south of India, Like, because if they have to refer to Africa, it will be Pushkar Dweepa, and sorry, Crouch Dweepa, and refer to America as Pushkar Dweepa, and Australia is called Shalmali Dweepa, and Europe is called Shaka Dweepa, because there is a, and there is another called Sakal Dweepa that is different. Sakal Dweepa is a small island, but Shaka Dweepa is considered the differentiation because there's a whole mountain range which cuts off a part of Jambu Dweepa. Therefore, it is called Shaka Dweepa. So there are all these different names are there, and this is standard information. So that means this is pure geography. And you'll be shocked to know the river paths have, you see, the rivers usually change the paths. Rivers, you can see that every few years the Yamuna changes path, Ganga changes path. Ganga is going more towards north nowadays, and then earlier it was more towards south, and therefore, so the rivers keep changing their path, but the mountains don't change their path. So the in entire Ramayana Mahabharata, if you look at the historical facts as a geographical information, nothing has changed. All the 7 continents are there. So now it debunks many theories, like the whole Gondwana land colliding with this land and that land. My question is, if it was actually the case, suppose it was actually the case, but it's not that the continents are sliding or floating on the water. It's not happening. Continents are connected from the bed of the ocean. So that means if the whole bed moves, then everything moves. And they mentioned that Himalayas are growing because the plates are colliding. Himalaya is a living, is called immovable but living person in Bhagavad Gita. See, that's why I say triage. You have to take the information first source from Bhagavad Gita and then triage it. So triage it so that you can understand, from the immovable objects, it is called living objects called Himalaya, one of them Himalaya. But it's still living. So anything living grows, like plants grow, other grows. Now there is no such thing as happening. Now, even though oceans are rising or falling down, it's not happening that the coast of India is shrinking inch by inch every year. That is not happening. Even the oceans come back and go, come back and go. And while that is happening, some new islands are emerging also. Like in Lakshadweep, a new island emerged. Andaman Nicobar, a new one island disappeared also. So it keeps happening. But the geography of the land has not changed ever. So the whole theory, these are all European imaginations or hallucinations, where they assume certain things, and because they think they have the right to civilize others, that's the church mindset, to civilize others. That's why they have sent Sonia Gandhi here, Sonia Gandhi to civilize Hindus, and she's getting civilized every day nowadays. So to civilize them, and therefore they want to tell everything. But my point to them is, when will you start learning? So, like one time, I had the same lecture in Athens. I gave to the University of Greece, and I said that Alexander the Mouse, and they were very enraged. In fact, they were almost like a riot situation. There's somebody, the first with the brown skin, that too from India, and has no colonial hangover, and is calling Alexander the Mouse. He said, why? He said, I mean, what you call? He conquered the Pakistan, today's Pakistan, that too on the west of Pakistan, western Pakistan, Punjab area, and attacked with 40,000 soldiers, went back with 500 soldiers, and that too injured, that too defeated by the women of Multan, Hindu women of Multan, and he died in Basra, which was Babylon, in Iraq. He ran so hard he couldn't look back. So what do you call that person? Is a mouse. So, like, unless we start building an original thought process, we will not be able to defend our culture. We have to stop reading all Western translations, all Western researches, and we have to start questioning everything that Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge tells us. And we can only question them on the logic of Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita's logic is very clear. Now, I'll give you one example. Like recently, there is an Ajmer controversy. Like most of the arguments that are made, I'm going to read the shloka because I have a Kalyug mindset, so I keep forgetting everything. But I'll give you one shloka on the 17th chapter. And the 17th chapter, it says very clearly, the 17.4, Yajante Satvika Devan, people in the Satuguna, the gunas are very important to understand. Like this is a science also, guna. Because the guna forces us to act in certain ways. And we always keep on referring to American studies or Western studies, and we keep never question them. Where do they come from? And that's how they become so arrogant. They start advising India on everything. Loktantra is discussed by Satyavati with Bhishma. So if Satyavati knew about Loktantra, then Loktantra is so old. Democracy is the word was coined by the Europeans to disenfranchise Native Americans. In You will be shocked to know, in 1924, American Constitution gave American citizenship to Native Americans. This is the joke of the century. You occupied their land and you gave them citizenship in 1924. So the word democracy was coined to disenfranchise Native Americans. In 1908, there was a papal bull. Again, papal bull, Vatican is involved. Therefore, American independence movement was against the Catholics, not against, they call it Protestants themselves, because the British influence was higher. If you don't understand history, you won't understand American politics. You won't understand. And by writing this book, I understood so much. Like the simple, we don't understand English, like because we don't do etymological dissection. We don't understand English. Like, for example, I give you one very simple example, that if you study the history of America, then the first 13 nations were the colonies taken from the 5 Native American nations. And conservative means pro-church. See, English is a connotational language, not denotation language. Sanskrit is a denotation language because it's accurate. So if you have a Sanskrit mind, then you'll use specific words for specific situations. So in the English language is a connotation language. See, when the democracy, the origin is that the papal bull was that now you have become 15 million people. You can check it out on anywhere in Google, what I said, because I've written a book here. So the point was, in 1908, the church said, Catholic Church said, that since you have become higher in number than Native Americans, that means Native Americans must be 15 million in just the northeast states of India and of USA and Canada. At least 15 million, because now they have increased number, must be 14. That must, just imagine how many people were killed. Just imagine, to make them majority. Because killing a bison Native American was considered trophy, including some of the Thomas Jefferson, many of the presidents of the United States, who were instrumental in frontier wars, capturing California or moving south of Oklahoma. See, if you do not think from an original point of view, you will always make a mistake of accepting the written history as a factual history. We have to question everything. Vedas say that we have to question everything. Krishna says we have to question everything. So with that mindset, when I studied the American history, I found out, now I understand their politics in a much more deeper way. The liberal in USA means anti-church, conservative means pro-church. So now the Hindus have to make a decision on what side they want to be on. Now coming back to Ramayana and Mahabharata. See, the geographical coordinates are the same in both the books, exactly the same. So that verifies that they had much better understanding of the world geography than us. When Bhagwan Ram talks to Sugriv and he says, you have seen the whole world because you're running away from Bali and from Vali, his own brother. So Sugriva sends his armies to the search of Sita. People call all bad names to Bhagwan Ram, that he was anti-women. No, for one woman, and he never married again, for one wife, he searched the entire planet, every single river, every single valley, every single mountain, every single continent. So Ramayana is the first book of global geography. And you will be shocked to know that I went to Peru, Candelabra Mountains. Yagya Vedika meant on the Candelabra Mountain, which the Peruvians say they don't know the origin. But Valmiki mentions that there is a Yagya Vedika on the top, which was worshipped by Indra. Amazing information. So most of our sages were always traveling. And the whole world was filled with Sanatan Dharma. There was meditation happened in every single mountain peak, every single cave, and every single ocean. And not only that, Valmiki Ramayana mentions the red color river flowing next to, And I want the Indian government to start, having the dharmic heritage sites all over the world. Start reclaiming them on the basis of Valmiki Ramayana. Like I said, Chagos Archipelago must be reclaimed by India completely based on the authority of Valmiki Ramayana. So these kind of things I'm particularly interested in, and it increases my faith in Vedic culture every day and Itihas every day, because it actually debunks everything that we have been told, everything has been written, everything that has been our language has been changed. Unfortunately and fortunately, we think in Sanskrit and speak in English. So that's why we make a better judgment, or we even make a we are smarter than most of the English speaking people, because we're thinking in Sanskrit. Our logic is in Sanskrit. So the last point I'll mention here, because I can go on and on and on. The another misconception is we try to play politics in the five Pandav brothers. Arjun is the best. Without Arjun, no. The hero of Mahabharata, if take out any page of Mahabharata, there is a book published by me, Yudhisthira in India is called Yudhisthira Pranadharma, but it's called Samrat Yudhisthira, the greatest emperor. Narad Muni declares that there have never been a king richer than Yudhisthira on the earth ever, and not there will be ever. And I'll give one example. He used to give during Rashtriya Yagya 30 million gold coins a day. Never happened by Bharat Maharaj. There are only 5 Samrat have happened in the history. None of them are from the current list. Okay, after Mahabharata there is nobody Samrat because everyone is poor. Yudhishthira was the last Samrat according to Veda, according to Mahabharata. Prithu Maharaj, Dushyant, Dushyant's son, Bharat Maharaj, and Prithu was the first Samrat. And there's 5. The 5th is Yudhishthira. After that, nobody. Out of those 5 Samrat, Yudhishthira is considered, every single person, whether Narad Muni, Markandeya Rishi, or any other Pulastya Rishi, everybody is coming to meet the son of Dharmaraj, which is Yudhishthira. And understand, and there are many such facts that we can go on and on. I've written them in the books also. But the point is that we try to say that one is stronger than the other without Arjun. Arjun will not breathe if Yudhishthira doesn't have an order for him. That's how loyal he is. Okay, and Krishna spoke to Arjun because he is friend and a bhakta. Bhakti is a great word, and I'll call myself bhakta because bhakta of Vishnu, obviously. So the point is, we have to reconstruct our mindset, change our mindset, and we have to start thinking in a realistic way. Because so far we have been thinking from the prism of the European prism. Oh, and we completely dilute. So put your brains in Bhagavad Gita, use the logic of Bhagavad Gita, then you develop Shastra Chakshu. Otherwise, you're seeing from the eyes, and those eyes are trained by the modern schools, including India's Supreme Court system is colonial system. Till date is colonial. They go to UK for degrees and everything because the laws are still the same. So much colonization has happened just so that we do not trust Mahabharata. My request to all of you is that bring those books into your house and prepare yourself, because Sanatan Dharma is never going to go away, but we have to remove the adharma. Now that is also binary, again binary. Dharma according to Yamadut. You don't know, believe me, don't trust me, you can read Bhagavad Puran, 6th canto. Yamduta says to Yishnuduta, that whatever is as per Veda is dharma, everything else is adharma. And there's a whole 16th chapter on Asura. You can read that in Bhagavad Gita. So I'll stop here because there's unlimited we can speak, and you all must be busy late for you. So thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm very happy to field any question if anyone has.
Thank you, Aditya ji, for enlightening us on the amazing knowledge that you acquired from your own research. Ajay, what are we looking at regarding the timelines that Mahabharata and Ramayana and different yugas like Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga? What are the timelines roughly accordingly?
So understand, so there is a Divya Yuga. So 1000 Divya Yuga makes up the day of Brahma. And in the Brahmas, Divya Yuga means one cycle of Satyog, Trita Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And 1000 of such cycles make up the day. And within the day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus. Right now we are in the seventh Manu. And Vivaswan is the Manu right now. Seventh Manu we are in right now. And every Manu has a reign of 72 Divya Yugas. So like this, there are 14. And one day, that is just one day of Brahma, not the night. And during the night, Brahma sleeps. Like all of us sleep, he also sleeps. And like this, he lives for 100 years. So we are looking at a very large day. So that's why some people say during the Vedic period, I say Vedic period never ends. Today also Vedic period going on. You know, Atmate Manate Jagat. If you are a foolish person, the whole world looks to you like a foolish land. You know, Atmate Manate Jagat. And but if you're intelligent, you see the whole world can be ignorance, but not that all the 7 billion people of the world are ignorant. There are many intelligent people everywhere. The world is going on because of truthful, intelligent, honest people. So the timelines is very, very old. Now I'll give one example, and with that you'll idea. Putreshti Yagya of Dashrath Maharaj was performed using Atharva Veda mantra. Okay, so it's Treta Yuga. You go straight to Treta Yuga. And I don't get into the dating business, because when the timeline is so huge and our dating technologies are so meek, our dating technologies can maximum take you to 5,000 years maximum. So that's why the Europeans are stuck that 4000 BC was the world created, and our temples are 10,000 years old minimum. Like Jagannath Puri temple and South India, many temples are 10,000 years old. So we have to completely remove European centrism and stop worrying about them. The chronology disease has started from them, because they can prove chronology. Their history is just 500 years old. You know, Christianity started spreading in the 7th century, 9th century actually, 9th century. Christianity is very recent, not even 2,500 years old. And some people may really abuse me for that, but I've quoted Western sources to say the
From
historical Jesus never existed.
from Constantine Empire.
Yeah, Constantine. Constantine was not a Christian. He was a Buddhist.
Okay.
When he was dying, that time they started reading the baptism prayers, Byzantine Empire. That time they started reading the baptism prayers.
Constantine.
So
Okay.
he had no idea what he was reading, what he was hearing. He was almost on the deathbed. And now they declare him the last Christian emperor. No, it was not. He was deathbed. They converted him by trick, as usual, like they do all the time, everywhere. You know.
All right. And other one, this one, we have records about Jarasandha. I think Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Jarasandha tried to attack Dwaraka that time. And is there any similarities between Jarasandha and Zoroaster? I mean, like,
No.
you remember? No, right? Okay.
Jarasandha never attacked Dwarka. Jarasandha attacked Mathura. Dwarka was
Mathura.
not made.
Okay. But
Dwarka
how
was
about
not made.
Zoroaster?
Zoroaster,
Zoroastrian, the
Zoroaster philosophy comes from Zohustra. Sanskrit word is Zohustra. Zohustra
Zostra.
means Shukracharya. It's a
Oh,
Shukracharya's
okay.
philosophy.
Oh,
So
okay.
they are the followers of Shukracharya. That's why it is called Rakshas. Yavana, Rakshas, Mlecha. These 3 words are used
Okay.
for them. Okay? So
Okay.
they are always part of the Vedic civilization. They're always part of the Vedic
Avesta.
civilization.
Avesta.
Avesta is a recent Avesta. These are the recent creation.
Oh,
Avesta
okay.
means anti-Veda, anti-Brahman,
Antaveda.
because they are Asura. So they are the same class like Ravan. Ravan was also called Asura.
Ah,
Unfortunately, nowadays there are Ravan temples, but Ravan was a rapist. How can you worship a rapist? And don't bring bad name to Lord Shiva by calling him a devotee of Shiva.
okay.
A
That's
person
true.
who kidnaps Sita Mai, how can he be a hero?
And one more thing, when you are talking about the always the invaders came in a different either alliances or the trade. There's one more person which we miss is the Cyrus. as Cyrus is one more mice. So he conquered the entire European, until Near East. And when he tried to adventure into India, and Mathura queen, I think she decapitated him.
See, let me just put you the timelines together. So the Chandragupta Maurya, which is mentioned in our Shastra, that is a very old story. That is almost 1800 BC story, not a recent story.
Okay.
Because Mahapadma, according to Mahapuran, Bhagavad Puran, happens 1150 years after Parikshit was born, according to the Puranic history. So, and after Mahapadma, then came the Chandragupta Maurya replaced him. Chandragupta Maurya, under the guidance, was a
Kautilya.
Vedic Dharmic king. Under the guidance of Chanakya, Chanakya created Kautilya Shastra, Arthashastra. Kautilya is also a different name. Vishnu Gupta created Arthashastra based on Ramayana, Mahabharata, because the guru of Arthashastra, meant by Narad Muni, is Yudhisthira. He tells Yudhisthira, I will not teach you Arthashastra, because you already know. Because it was in Mahabharata, it is mentioned the Raja should always know Arthashastra. It is mentioned there. Because otherwise, how will you rule? Manu, like Swambhu Manu, who was ruling from Ayodhya, was created Manusmriti, which is completely Arthashastra. Manusmriti, social division, because Arthashastra doesn't mean economy. Arthashastra means social order plus economy plus defense. I'll be writing a new book on Manusmriti, and I'll share that as a constitution of the world, in which I'll cover all the different things. So
Okay.
the point is, I'm trying to say, you have to understand what Europeans are telling is not the fact. Because see, the whole Persia is a big country. Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Iraq, Iran, parts of Lebanon, parts of Jordan. These are all part of Parsi Desh. Same culture. And they were all considered Yavana and Rakshas. And so heavy military force. So we have been told हमने किसी पे आक्रमण नहीं किया. हमने आक्रमण नहीं किया only last 70 years. उसके पहले
Yeah.
हमने सब आक्रमण नहीं किया है. We always attacked. Because Narad Muni tells Yudhishthir that you have to constantly attack at the border. Constantly attack. Your military forces should sit in the enemy territory. Because we don't follow Narad Muni, we don't follow Dharma, we are sitting here sitting duck. You know? And most of the, because unless you know Dharma, you cannot be decisive. See, I have no fear because I'm speaking from Shastra. It's not my words. If you have to blame somebody, blame Vyasdev, blame Narad Muni, blame everybody else. I'm just repeating the words here.
So you mentioned about Meru Parvat. Which one is that?
Khantegri, in the center of Jambudvip. Khantegri today is called.
Which today's which country is that right now?
Mongolia, right in the center of
Mongolia.
it. Yeah.
Oh, in Mongolia. Oh, okay.
Borders
So no
of
wonder.
Kyrgyzstan and Mongolia. It's
Oh,
in the
okay.
it's in the center. It's in the center of Jambudvip, Asia. It's right in the
Oh,
center
okay.
of Asia.
Okay. And there are references to what do you call the old Anatolia. I mean, like ancient Anatolia. That is like Turkey, today's Turkey and Syria. Was there any Indic civilization? I mean, of course, the entire globe was once it was, but Hurrian civilization was there thriving one point of time. I mean, like who moved from Bharat again, Akhand, Jambudvipa.
Okay, let me just give you a perspective. Vyasdev says any history that is not connected from Mahabharata is a fake history. It's not a real history. So in Mahabharata, the word uses Turkiyamas. So Turkiyamas, so the word Turk is a Mahabharata word. So the word Turkey has come from Mahabharata, originally Sanskrit. Like the Chin, word Chin is also mentioned in Mahabharata. Khaza tribe, you know. And I have mentioned that and quoted the shlokas also where it is mentioned in my books. That where it is mentioned, what it is mentioned for. See, the point is, Turk were always considered Berber. Now, you'll be shocked to know that non-African tribes are known as Berber Jati, even today. And they have been behaved like that. And they are always civilized through weapons. And even today, that is true. You have to civilize them with weapons. In Turkey, if you don't have weapons, you'll be killed in one day. You have to civilize them with weapons. So all this information can be used by the modern State Department of India, which is called External Affairs Ministry in India, and create better policies for India. Like this is how you use history for today's world. Because in Mahabharata Ramayana, the nature of the people born from a particular soil is mentioned. So everywhere has a different characteristic. So if you study the soil, and the nature will be the same. Nature doesn't change. If you're born in say Karnataka, your nature will be naturally different because the soil has a different imprint on you. And somebody born, you will think differently also. So languages and other things, they follow that. Languages also develop in a similar way. Like in English language in UK is considered the most what do you call it, untrustworthy people. English, they have always been traders. They have occupied Wales, they have occupied Scotland, they occupied Ireland also. So unless you learn from the roots over there, you don't understand the real politics actually.
I have a question, Aditya.
Yes.
My question is when so much of research has been done to debunk mythology, why are we still saying debunking mythology?
No, actually, not enough has been done because
Okay.
the Satyology is not
There
the
is so
main.
much research already done that Ramayana and Mahabharata did exist. Ramayana and Mahabharata are part of our history. We all the time keep saying debunking mythology. We have already debunked so much. Now you say we're not done enough research. Please.
No, we have not debunked enough because these are
Okay.
not part of the mainstream syllabus in India. The debunking mythology word will go away when the Indian universities tell publicly that we are banning Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge from teaching Hindu history. That's where the real debunking will start. Till that, we have to keep saying that. See, it is the responsibility of the Indian academics to challenge the European narrative. That has not happened. Indian academics are continuing the Europeanism, while people like you and me, the ordinary citizens, we reject the version of the Europeans as well as the Indian academics also. So the day India stops hankering for Nobel Peace Prize, that day we'll say debunking mythology is over. The day India keeps begging for UN Security Council, that day the debunking will be over. The day India moves out of Commonwealth, British Commonwealth, that day debunking will be over. We have not done any such thing. Indian Supreme Court still follows the European laws, British laws. Doesn't follow Manusmriti. Till that time, debunking mythology will go on. And ultimately, Sanskrit is the common language of all Asia, not just India. Russia, Lithuania, Latvia, today's Bharat. Bharat is a land name of the entire world. Entire Southeast Asia, that Sanskrit is a common language. Until the time we create a dharmic block. So right now we have a Brahmic Accord and a NATO. We don't have dharmic block. Till that time, debunking mythology is not over. We have a long way to go. We need people like you to fight.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Aditya. Thanks for all enlightening us. And any more questions? I think there are more to discuss. Time is like running out, so we can wind the session. On behalf of VHS Karnataka, I thank Shri Aditya Satsangi for accepting our request and enlightening all of us on debunking the mythology and putting forward the Satyology. Now I understand what is Satyology. So Satyology. So on this
Satyology, not Satyology, not Satyology. Satya is a word. Satyology.
Yes.
That's a Sanskrit word. Yeah.
Satyology. Yes.
Satyology.
So thank you, Aditya ji, for enlightening us, and really appreciate that. And thank you, Nikunji. Thank you, Tejas, for helping us, and thank you, Ishwaraya and Gadagira Keji. Last but not least, okay, the books are getting released. There are about 11 books our Aditya ji has written. I think it's there. We can provide the link or go to YouTube Satyology. YouTube/Satyology, I think, right? Satyology is the channel. So please go there.
Go to Amazon, search Satyology, and you'll see all the books.
Okay.
Sattology search, you'll get all the books.
All
And in
right.
US, you can also buy from Barnes and Nobles. It's mainstream, so Barnes and Noble sells my books.
Oh,
Okay.
great. So, please do buy those books and read it. And he has done extensive research on this, and he has put forward all the original translation, not the European prism from the European prism, the original Indic prism. I mean, Indic way, what is being told millennium back. And thank you, Ji. And last but not least, thank you all the wonderful viewers for making this Samvada success. Please do say, please stay safe, and please do visit and register at vhsindia.org for further amazing sessions of VHS Samvada. Thank you all. Jai Sri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.
That's